You see these pens? They are the Pitt Artist Brush Pens, known for their high quality, light fast pigments, high light fastness, waterproof, permanent, pigmented India ink. But of course their permanent and pigmented nature doesn't really make very smooth transitions between different colours, you know. So let me give you a demonstration of that. Ignore this, unrelated. So let's put down a bit of blue, but what if I want to put down a bit of blue just here as well to add on to it? Oh wait, what do we have here? We have a line, yes. In fact, no matter what you do with this, every single line you will ever make with these pens will be perfectly preserved. I can just use different coloured pens, I guess, to go from light blue to a darker blue. I can just keep on layering it like so. Yeah, it's kind of okay. But if I want a shade lighter than this pen, I will just have to buy another Faber Castell Pitt Artist pen that has a lighter shade to it. I mean, I can even attack it with a water brush if I like, and basically nothing happens. As I said before, it's a pigmented pen. It's not dry yet, so I can move it around a bit. There's a little tip for you. You can move the ink around when it's still wet. Sometimes I also like to hold one of these Faber Castell Pitt Artist pens up against a water brush, like so, tip to tip. I can get a bit of pigment off, and then I can do some lighter shades with the water brush. And then you could kind of use them a little bit like watercolors. But there's another way that you don't have to use a water brush. Yes, you can use one of these. A syringe and a blunt tipped needle full of water. So what I like to do, I like to kind of pipette tiny drops of water onto the end of the marker tip here. And the more water I drop and inject onto the marker tip, the lighter the shade will become. And now I can do unbelievably light shades. I can just start off very light, and it will get progressively darker as I go along. So that's before injection and that's after injection. Quite a big difference. Let's try it again with the orange. Slowly inject it in, tiny little droplets at a time. And then after a bit of work, we're back to the original colour again. So as you can see, either using a water brush or a syringe full of water, you can make a measly 12 colours that's provided in this package here a lot more versatile. So I think I might do a drawing then, and I'm going to do a drawing with these pens and the syringe. Yes, because I like the syringe. Now, you're probably wondering why I picked the syringe over the water brush, because the water brush is actually capable of doing some pretty nice watercolour effects. I think the main reasons why I did it is because, well, for one, the syringe looks cooler. It's a bit of a silly reason. And also, sometimes I struggle to get enough pigment onto the brush from the tip of the marker. Sometimes I find more water goes into the tip of the marker than actually pigment going onto the brush head. So injecting water directly onto the tip of the marker is sometimes more effective. Okay, now I must give you a word of warning before you try this out, and that is you don't want to oversaturate the tip of your marker with the water, because it's possible for the water to actually travel up the tip and then into your ink foam reservoir, and then you might find that the ink within your marker is then permanently diluted, and that is not a good idea. We want to get both intense colours and light colours out of the same pen, for basically the sole reason of being a cheapskate and not giving Faber Castell extra money for lighter versions of the same pigment in a different pen. What a brilliant business idea. Charge the same amount of money for a pen that just contains extra water in it. Another example of that kind of business model is Cadbury Dairy Milk chocolate. You can buy a block of chocolate, or you could buy a block of Aereo Dairy Milk chocolate. And Aereo is essentially just aerated chocolate full of air bubbles in it, paying for air, and it costs the same. Whoever came up with that idea was a genius, basically. Probably got a promotion at least, I don't know. It's just corrupt chocolate. No, I've exaggerated a bit there. Faber Castells, they're all good. I like them. So anyway, while using this water injection method, after the tip is partially saturated with that injected water, it will start off very light. So of course, you start from the lightest parts, and then you work down into the shadows, because it will just naturally get darker as you go along. You can also easily keep the color intensity at the same level just by giving the, occasional top up every once in a while with water. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I'm actually quite pleased with the results you can get out of these pens now with this little trick, because these pens aren't cheap, and my initial tests of them, while they did look reasonably good, I found it absolutely impossible to get any smooth gradients out of them, or light colours, because it's just 12 vibrant colours. Each pen is $4 each. I'm starting to ramble a bit, you know, you can see me trying to do a bit of a smooth gradient on the body of this, whatever it is, some kind of fantasy dinosaur. I've managed to do a dark blue down the bottom, and then it moves up to a light blue at the top. Also, you can see the trees in the background, light brown in the center, and then dark brown on the outside. And you can also see the different color intensities on the green on top of the fantasy dinosaur, because you've got dark green spots and then a shade of light green over the top of its back. You can also see a gradient of color in the sky just beyond the trees and the spaceship, and also on the other side of the page in that cataclysmic explosion, mostly with the red. Otherwise I just would have been left with really big splotches of really dark red. So anyway, there's a fun little experiment for you. Just make sure it's a blunt needle so you don't poke yourself with it. I'd let the experts do that. Right. And now I have something very important to tell you, and that is goodbye.